Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leaving I levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit up my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboys Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We've got a really exciting NFL slate on board.
Thank you, Capwise. May the fantasy gods be with us today.
Yep, everyone, hands together. Let's say a prayer for the fantasy gods.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some prayers, but we can touch on that later. That's not so important. But I have like running back injuries up the wazoo.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we have an exciting NFL slate. And I know that as far as official picks that we have, this week is like the biggest week that we've had on the season. So Ben and I have a lot of opinions about these games. Isn't that right, Ben?
We do. I have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of props that I like this week, or I should say today. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun game, or not fun game. It's gonna be a fun week, but there are plenty of fun games. I like the matchups in a lot of these games. There are a few ones that are gonna be a little ugly, but there's a few that I'm pretty intrigued on.
Yeah, I mean, and I think also as far as the model is concerned, there's a lot of games where the scores don't quite line up with what Vegas thinks, and for me at least, I think that's exciting as well.
Yeah.
So let's just start from the top. Game number 1. Got Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts. Colts favored by 10 points at home. Total in this game sitting at 47.5. So Ben, I know every time we talk about the Colts, have to bring it up. You're kind of conducting the Colts train this year. How are you feeling about that at the halfway point of the season?
I'm feeling good. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I think if you take out the first few games of the season, when they had some health issues, and also Carson Wentz was making his first appearances with the Colts, but at the same time, he did have a few appearances after those first few games that weren't so good. But I think overall this Colts team has gradually improved over time, so I still feel them. Having said that, though, this is a lot of points in this one.
10 is a lot of points here. Mm-hmm. So I know Indianapolis is at home, and you typically think, okay, 3 points for the home team. But still, this being at 10, it just feels like too much. So the model has this game at about 25.1 for Indy to 22.6 for Jacksonville. So that's not 10 points. We're only looking at like between 2.5 and 3 points. So basically the home field advantage that the model thinks is the separating factor between these two teams. And I'm kind of with you on this. I think that the Colts are good. I think that they're better than their record, but it's too many points. So I have to lean Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm. And guess who's in officially?
Is James Robinson in?
He is, straight from my man Ian Rappaport. He gave me a text via Twitter to the whole world. But yeah, he's in, and I think that's big for this offense.
Oh, definitely.
Not just the running game, but I think it opens up the passing game even more so. And Also, this passing attack for the Jags has been pretty solid. I think that's been twofold with Lawrence progressing over the season, and also I think Dan Arnold. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think much of this guy, but he's been pretty solid so far this year. I mean, he's not Kyle Pitts athletically, but he catches the ball, which is step one.
Yeah, I mean it's a big part of his job description is to catch the ball further down from the line of scrimmage than where it was snapped from.
Yeah, how to be a wide receiver or tight end. Step one, catch the ball.
Catch the ball. Step 2, go into the end zone.
Yeah. Well, I guess for a tight end, it's can you block? But anyways. But, yeah, I like the spot for him. I know Colts, I think, had, a Thursday night game, so they get a few extra days for this one, which I think is factored into this. I mean, I think that's why you're seeing a 10, right?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And, I mean, they did kind of blow the Jets out in that game. The Jets almost came back towards the end, but it was a lot less close of a game than the 15-point margin indicates.
Mm-hmm. And in the narrative on this one that I'm hearing from a lot of people is, well, the Jags, they got really lucky last week, and they're just gonna fall apart. It's not gonna happen again. But I think you can take away a lot from that game, and I think they can keep it close, at least within 10.
Yeah, I agree. And we don't need them to pull out a win here. We just need them to keep it within a touchdown or so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next up, we've got the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. Patriots, 2.5-point favorites at home. Over-under in this game, set at 45. And this game, both teams missing their number one running backs. Nick Chubb, of course, is out for Cleveland, and Damian Harris is out for New England. So it's the Dearness Johnson and Ramondre Stevenson show today. So this line, I think, has been hovering around 2.5, more or less, all week. That was with the Chubb news being known, but I think that Damian Harris being announced out didn't move this line at all. Which, I mean, on the one hand, is probably the right decision, but on the other hand, I am a little surprised it didn't drop more into that 2 territory again.
Yeah, but you could go both ways, right? Because with Felton announced out and Chubb, the line didn't move. So
yeah, just running backs don't matter.
Yeah, I mean,
moral
I could
of the
play
story.
running back.
Yeah, I mean, I could play running back.
I could.
I wouldn't last the whole game, but I could go out there and take a hit.
Yeah. So
exactly
I guess that's what the bookmakers are showing and telling us here. I was making this point earlier on Twitter Spaces. I was just in a group talking about it, and someone said, well, Baker Mayfield is still Baker Mayfield. And I said, well, if you look at the advanced stats in DVOA, which is a metric that I like to look at, if you look at some of those metrics, we have a large enough sample size now to basically determine that Mayfield without OBJ on the field is a better passer.
Yeah, and it's weird to say, but it's true.
Yeah, and you can come with all these counter arguments about why that is or this and that or whatever, right? They didn't use OBJ, whatever. Either way you slice it, that's how it is. And I just think we saw that last week, and we're going to see it again this week. I think OBJ being off the field is exactly what this offense needed. And I think Dearness Johnson is, he's not Nick Chubb, but he also isn't a guy who I think is just going to, not have a game. I think he had that one against the Broncos on Thursday Night Football.
He got one start, and he had a fantastic game. It didn't look all that different from how it would have looked if Nick Chubb was playing.
Yeah. And there's nothing really you can say like, oh, they didn't know what to expect out of that running back or whatever. It's different than a quarterback. There are some tendencies that you can identify from back to back, but that's out of the question. So I just think overall, the Browns are a good team.
Yeah,
They're a really good team.
The Browns are a really good team. I completely agree with that. So the model, I'm assuming from what you just said that you like Cleveland today.
I got my Brown shirt on.
Just don't. I was gonna say don't move up any further because I know there's
No,
a
I
Broncos
have
logo
to.
sneaking in there.
See, someone tunes in for 5 seconds, and then they're like, "Ben, I didn't know Ben was a Browns fan." That's how things happen.
Yeah, he's just a fair weather fan.
Yeah,
Weather's always sunny in Cleveland.
windy.
Yeah, that's more like it. So the model agrees with what you're saying. So we've got Cleveland 23.8, New England 21.3. So we're looking at a 2.5 point spread in this one. But with Cleveland favored, at least from the model's perspective, as opposed to New England. So I am with you, Ben. And I think that we're going to throw the Browns up as a lean in this game.
And saying all that about the Browns, I am a Mac Jones fan. So this isn't me saying anything bad about the Patriots. I just think that honestly, I think this should be a pick 'em, Nick.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking.
No, I agree with you. I think that this line's off by a couple points. Broken Meta, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Oh yeah, and one thing, Nick, I'm gonna throw out a prop here
Alrighty.
that I gave to you last night, and I don't know if you liked it or disliked it, but I like it.
Yeah, I was torn. I was kind of in not
that's
enough
fine.
information to make a decision type territory.
That's fine. It's Dearness Johnson over 14.5 receiving yards. The reason why I like that is he's going to be on the field a lot. I don't even know if they have a backup, Nick. I'm not even joking. I was talking to a Browns fan, and he's like, and he's like a true Browns fan. He's like, I don't even know who our backup running back is.
Yeah, let me.
If anyone knows, let me know. But regardless, the Patriots have given up quite a bit of receiving yards to backs this season. It just kind of comes down to how they utilize Johnson in that aspect. But I think at 14.5, I do like the value there with his volume on the field. So I'm going to stick with that one, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that kind of held me up was that Dearness Johnson, even in the snaps that he's had, he hasn't really been as prolific of a receiving back as Nick Chubb has, as obviously Kareem Hunt has been. But again, he's going to be on the field so much. I can't find a backup list. I just brought up the Browns depth chart. Everybody's listed as out. Chubb is out.
Felton's
Demetric
out.
Felton's out. John Kelly, the guy listed at number 4. I don't know who that is, but he's out.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I honestly don't know.
Maybe
If they have
the
a backup.
fullback Andy Janovich,
Oh yeah, I think it is Janovich.
Peyton Hillis
Shout
2.0.
Shout out Andy Janovich. Met him in Denver. Shout out fullbacks. If you're a fullback out there, we appreciate your
Yeah,
service.
put some respect on the name of fullbacks.
Yeah.
So Josh,
16.5.
16.5.
Yeah, it's creeping up. I mean, I would say that's like that's got to be your stopping point because 17.5. I know it's 1 yard, but that just. Ugh.
Yeah, and at this number though, that's like a 4% increase. So Josh says, "Hey guys, Chargers are giving up over 160 rushing yards per game, and Dalvin Cook's rushing yards are roughly 90.5. Am I missing something here?"
You are, and we'll get to that.
Ben says, "Yes."
Is that called? That's a teaser. Is that what it's
No,
called?
a teaser is when you take two teams, and you add and subtract a couple points, and then you bet on it.
I'll give you another example of a teaser. No, just kidding. It's too early for
Give
that.
you another example of a teaser. No, it's too early for that. It's the wrong platform.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways, next up, we've got Atlanta and Dallas. Cowboys 8-point favorites at home. Over under in this game, all the way up at 55. So as we know, Calvin Ridley looking like he's going to be out indefinitely. I'd be kind of surprised to see Calvin Ridley back at any point this year. That being said, without Ridley, the Falcons were able to pull off a win last week against New Orleans, and I feel like the reputation that they have right now among people is that it's one of the absolute worst teams in the league.
Keep unzipping, Amaral.
Just like last year.
Yeah, but they're 4-4, right? I mean, they have a 500 record. It's like they're not that bad.
Mm-hmm. They're not, Nick.
No, they're not. Thank you, Austin, for the sub. Appreciate that. No, I'm gonna keep this zipped up. It's cold.
Oh. What if she's our guest? Picker.
Well, I mean, people have been saying we need to get some pretty woman to.
Yeah, or the AMS or the AMSR.
ASMR.
Where we'll just whisper a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nick, the Falcons, right?
Yeah.
Ridley, let's just assume he's out for the rest of the season. And I guess we're just talking about this game. But I think that's important to note because I think Matt Ryan and that offense have to start this, just assume he's not coming back and build off of that news and how you're going to structure an offense. And thank you, ASIM, for the follow. So the Falcons are very unique offensively because of Cordell Patterson, which I never thought this season I would be leading off with the Falcons offense with Cordell Patterson.
Yeah.
But here we are. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because he's essentially a running back that okay. He's a running back.
He's a player in the NFL, man. That's what he is.
He's a
Swiss
wide
Army
receiver
knife.
Playing as a running back, but it fucks up the whole defense.
He's just a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he is.
He's a guy who, when he's lined up as a running back, it's hard because an offensive linebacker now has to treat him kind of as first a receiving threat. And it kind of screws up your whole strategy defensively with him in mind. So, having said all that, this Falcons team, I think, will keep this close. But I'm not sold on the narrative of this being a shootout. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm seeing with this line. I don't think we're going to get that today.
No, I don't think that we are either. And I think that something that's important to look at is the Cowboys' performance last week against Denver. So we have to remember that Dak Prescott is coming off an injury. And now he's got another week to recover from that. But he did not look like classic Dak Prescott last week against the Broncos. And I think that he's really what makes this offense run. I mean, obviously he's the quarterback. He literally makes the offense go. But I still think if Dak is not at 100%, this is not the kind of elite NFL offense that this total is implying it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is a good underspot.
Yeah, and I get it. It's in a dome. I guess you can call Jerry World a dome. It's not outside, and Matt Ryan has better numbers inside of stadiums than outside stadiums. But I think the way you slice this one is both teams are going to move the ball. I'm very curious to see what happens in the red zone because if they do convert and score touchdowns, this one could fly over. But I also think that there's enough talent, especially on the Dallas side of the ball, or the Dallas side of the defense, that can make those stops. So I think this goes under.
Yeah, I think it goes under. I think we could definitely lose this just if everything goes right for the offenses, or if there's like a defensive touchdown or a couple good defensive plays in general. But I mean, that's a risk in any game, right? That's always a risk when you take an under. But I think,
a big shot too, because the Cowboys do have big threat capability, big play capability. It hasn't been that way, at least the last 2 games. Definitely not last game, but I think even the game before that, they haven't had like a big Elliott run or like a 50-yard touchdown. But they do have a lot of talent offensively.
Yeah. But I think I just think everything has to go right for this to go over. If there's just like a slow quarter, or the punters have a really good game, and having to drive will take an extra 5 minutes off the clock or something. This is a 40-point game as opposed to a 55-point game. And the model, just to wrap up the discussion, has this one sitting at like just a little bit under 49 points. So that's under by quite a large margin. And yes, no, you're completely right. The Cowboys like to play up and down to the level of their competition. They're like the Ravens in that sense, I would say. I mean, just like a lot of close games against really good teams, close games against really bad teams. And yeah, Cedric Wilson, 75-yard touchdown against the Vikings. So that was a big play.
Okay, I take that back. I'm just so clouded with that Broncos game where I'm like, anything that happened up to that point doesn't matter.
Yeah, and also I think we were talking about this on the stream last week. I feel like all of the news that we got between week 8 and week 9, like all of the rug stuff and all of the Aaron Rodgers shenanigans, it made everything before week 10, like week 9 and earlier, feel like ancient history just immediately. In terms of football news.
Week 9, I would say, was the wildest week of football in the NFL thus far, with the upsets and
it was a wild week,
all that stuff. So, but yeah, thank you. And if we say anything that's factually incorrect, please call us out.
Yes, because we want to arrive at the correct decisions.
Yeah,
at the end of the stream, that's the goal. So
absolutely.
I like being told that I'm wrong if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I like to tell Nick he's wrong sometimes.
Yeah. I wanna at the end of the discussion be right. I want everybody to be right.
It's all about arriving at the truth.
Yep. Vegas says, I'm live with y'all. My kid wants to play football right now during the stream. You want to hear the Carolina hot take?
Oh crap! I did just mention that in the Discord, and we're still a few games away. Throw the ball around a few times. It's probably gonna be like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be.
Tell them to run a go route and just tell them to keep running.
Yeah, tell them to run like a 3-mile go route.
That'd be so mean. Just keep going. All right, let's talk about this Buffalo New York game.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So as we know, and as we talked about a little bit earlier, at least indirectly, Buffalo lost to Jacksonville last week. That was a 9-6 football game.
Yeah.
Oops.
Josh Allen,
there we go. Okay.
We found out who the best Josh Allen was.
Yeah, the best Josh Allen is a defensive player. I was really hoping the Bills drafted him in the draft. How funny would that have been if their first round pick 2 years in a row was Josh Allen? Mm-hmm. It's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get 2 different Allen jerseys?
Yeah.
As a fan,
you could have like the split, where they cut the jersey and then they sew it up. It's just Josh Allen.
Yeah. You splice the Allen in half and then just put the Allens back together.
Mm-hmm. And guys, we have to remember, in the NFL, 17 games. The best teams in the NFL are going to have 2 to 3 games where things don't go their way.
The Bills have had 2 of those this year.
Yeah. So
for damn sure.
Yeah, they've had 2. But I don't think this is going to be a third, Nick.
No, I really don't either. No. So I think that the Bills are good. The Bills are really good. They've had a couple of clunkers, namely against Pittsburgh and against Jacksonville last week. But against bad teams, they play really well. So against the Dolphins,
minus Jacksonville.
Well, I mean, I think Jacksonville's a little bit better than. Well, maybe not. I think Josh Allen was just motivated to prove that he's the best Josh Allen. Although
And now the real Josh Allen is going to come back today. Here's our revenge spot. Yeah.
He got showed that he was not the best Josh Allen, so now he has to reprove himself. But yeah, again, aside from that Jacksonville game, I mean, against Miami, there's a 35-0 win and a 26-11 win against the Texans, 40-0. Beat Washington by 22. Lot of big wins against bad teams. And I kind of think that this one ends up in the same territory. So the model has this as a 28.8 to 13.5 win for Buffalo, which is like about 15 to 15.5 points. So compared to the Vegas spread of 13, it's a slight lean from the model, I would say. Not quite as many points as we'd like. But I think the under's also pretty interesting here. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of all boils down, both Buffalo having a good game and the under. Both of those things boil down to the Jets' offense, not so much whatever Buffalo ends up doing. So the Jets have had an interesting couple of weeks, to say the least. We got Mike White as the next big thing, and then we got Mike White getting hurt, and we got the ghost of Josh Johnson coming in, and then he looked like a competent NFL quarterback last week against Indianapolis on Thursday. But is that going to continue? Are we gonna keep seeing, like, so what's gonna happen now? So Mike White's gonna get hurt, and then Josh Johnson's gonna get hurt, and then Joe Flacco's gonna come back, and Joe Flacco's gonna have a good game today.
Nick, what do I say over and over and over again on these streams about these quarterbacks coming in?
You always say that in the first game with quarterbacks, there's no film. So the defense doesn't really know what they're going to do. And then after they play a little bit, after they have some film against a real NFL defense, you can figure out their quirks, you can figure out their tendencies, and then in game 2, in game 3, they really come back down to earth. And
Are you sold on that?
I am. I think that that's an excellent observation that you've made.
Yeah, and it's almost something where I try not to just blindly bet that angle every time, because that can get you in trouble. Like we've talked about this. You can't just blindly bet anything like that. But when you have that, you have 80% of the pie, and you just have to look at the rest, right? And I think now there's film on Mike White. This Buffalo defense, they have a good secondary. I think this is going to be a game where the Jets really struggle to score. I really do. And Buffalo doesn't need to score 30 to cover this. I think this model score is kind of right where it should be. I could actually see this being a 20 game.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So as far as leans are concerned, what are we going to do? Do you want to put Buffalo and the under here?
I'm actually fine with that. I know it seems like a lot, but these plays, I think, are somewhat correlated.
I agree. And even in the games that Buffalo hasn't quite performed, the defense has not been the issue, or at least last week, the defense wasn't the issue. The issue was on the offensive end. So
you got to ask yourself: Do we think Josh Allen for the Bills, if he has an average game, I think they cover.
Yeah, I think the Bills can cover this one pretty easily. And I think the other important thing is that this is sitting on the south side of 14. We've seen in some of these other weeks, especially with the Bills, because they've had pretty big point spreads a couple times already this year. And they've been in the 16.5, 17.5 range. And you're really playing with fire in that situation relative to what you are at a 13. Like this. So I'm a lot more comfortable with this at 13. If this was sitting at 14, I don't think I'd lean Bills, or at least not enough to put it up on the stream. But I think at 13, and with this total still at 48, I think the Bills to cover minus 13 and the under 48 are both pretty good leans here.
Yeah. Who's Zach Wilson? Who's that guy?
I don't know.
I don't know. He's an Olive Garden server. I keep telling you.
Yeah, he does look like an Olive Garden server.
When is he supposed to return, by the way?
Probably pretty soon. I don't think he was supposed to be out for that long. I think it said like 3 to 4 weeks. This is week 3.
Yeah, I was loving the memes about like Zach Wilson watching every quarterback come in and succeeding on the sideline watching them.
I all I want is I want Joe Flacco to go in there and
That
succeed.
would be so funny.
I would love it.
I would get a kick out of that.
All right. So speaking of getting a kick, we have 2 football teams that employ kickers: the New Orleans Saints and the Tennessee Titans. You like that transition there? Mm-hmm. No,
How do we?
Pretty
Do
lame.
we have a sound noise for like breaking news?
No, but I should get one.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Okay, I'll just do it. Breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah.
We have some breaking news here.
What is the breaking news, Adam Schefter?
From, wait, I should probably get her full name. Diana, ESPN. Diana Racina, ESPN, says Taysom Hill will play a really big role in the run game today. A gigantic part of the offense.
Really big, gigantic.
Really big.
Thanks, Dina. Appreciate those.
That's the news. He's not starting, but
Well, yeah, I mean, in the run game, it said, not in the pass game.
in the run game.
So, yeah, injuries. Again, this is the second game already out of 5 with both teams missing their starting running back. Of course, Derrick Henry is out for Tennessee. I believe Julio Jones is also out for Tennessee. So this offense
that guy
is in a bit of a rough spot.
What do they say? The best talents availability or something like that?
The best ability is availability.
Yeah.
And
Right,
it's
Patrick?
Yeah, it's kind of true. On the Saints side of things, Alvin Kamara is out from this game. And that's pretty big news as well. So, I mean, Tennessee missing number 1 running back in the league and their number 2 wide receiver, who's certainly, I would say, still a top 30 receiver in the league. And New Orleans missing their starting running back, again, one of the best 5 or 10 backs in the league, plus their starting quarterback, which is huge. And they're also missing their number 1 receiver, but he's out all year. So I think that's reflected in this line. I mean, these are 2, what we would think of, if they're healthy, as pretty prolific offenses. But the total in this game is only 43.5. Tennessee, despite all of their injuries, are sitting at 3-point favorites. Mikey, we got the Eagles game coming up in a little bit. We're just running down the list.
So, Nick.
Yeah.
This feels like one of those spots that you just cannot overthink. And you can't get too caught up in like, well, I think everyone's going to be feeling this way, so maybe I'm going to go the other way. I think you just have to take in the information, stick with your gut, and I like the under.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tennessee's defense is a little leaky at times, but New Orleans' defense is pretty good, especially on the ground. And with the ghost of Adrian Peterson starting at running back for Tennessee, I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball at all. I think it's really got to be the passing game. And with no Julio Jones, A.J. Brown's going to have a big game. And A.J. Brown is going to get the Marshawn Lattimore treatment.
Doesn't sound fun.
So then who's gonna catch passes for Tennessee? Is it gonna be Swaim and Firkser, or is it gonna be, I don't know, like they cut Josh Reynolds? He was the big sleeper darling the last time they had wide receiver injuries, but he's not even on the team anymore.
Yeah, he was such a sleeper. He was literally sleeping.
Yeah, sleeping. Yeah,
because I had him on fantasy and that didn't work out well.
No, it did not.
So I have to look at this one and say, Tennessee, last week, the defense looked amazing against a great offense. Now you enter a game against an offense that obviously isn't as good as the Rams, but even if they play a tad worse defensively, I think the regression still kind of evens out, if that makes sense, because you're going up against an offense that I would say is average at this point.
I mean, I think
Unless
I don't even think with Alvin Kamara out, they're not an average offense. Who the hell makes plays on that team?
unless the Taysom Hill thing can screw up them defensively. But if not, there's going to be so many 3-and-outs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being serious. Like, who on this New Orleans Saints team moves the ball? You have Trevor Siemian at quarterback.
Traquan Smith. A little TS connection.
Like, the leading receiver for the Saints on the year is Deontay Harris. I mean, yeah, exactly. From Assumption College.
Yeah.
That's where he went to school. He's their leading wide receiver is 5'6". That tells you everything you need to know about the state of the Saints right now.
And last week, Saints Falcons, we were on the under. It looked great up to 3 quarters. 32 points were scored in the fourth. I think that's a huge anomaly.
I agree.
And I think people are going to look at that and see, well, Saints scored 25. No, I think it was an outlier.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think even at 43.5, it's really overestimating the quality of this Saints offense. All right, you ready to move on?
I am.
Yeah, he's a return specialist, but also their leading receiver. So next up, we've got at least one team that is not struggling on offense, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay going on the road to Washington to play the Washington football team. Washington, 9.5-point dogs at home. Over under in this game is sitting at 50.5. So no AB, no Antonio Brown, no Gronk for Tampa.
Godwin?
I think Godwin is playing. Of course, they still have Mike Evans. They still have Leonard Fournette. It's not like Brayton Howard or bad options at tight ends either. Injuries
Scotty
for Tampa.
Miller.
Yeah, Scotty Miller. Is he playing?
Hope so.
But I mean, Tampa's relative to some of these other teams, despite the injuries, still looking okay. Washington is a football team. I think that's something that we can say about them. They're really. I don't know what Washington is. Ben, what are your thoughts on Washington?
Well, first of all, Scotty Miller is actually out of this.
Yeah, I think he's been out for a while.
We do have Tyler Johnson, and I like Tyler Johnson. He's a solid receiver. He just hasn't really had an opportunity. But as far as Washington, I mentioned earlier what happens with these quarterbacks, right? Taylor Heineke had a few. Well, I don't even know if you could say a few. Well, I guess he had his first start, and then I think he had another start where he looked decent.
Yeah.
But he's not going to surprise anyone. The Bucs pass defense has improved over the season. We were basically saying how bad they were since the start of the season. I mean, they were on pace to have, I think, the most passing yards allowed in a season, but that's partly due because their run defense is one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah, and also crazy injuries in the secondary.
Yes, crazy injuries.
And
so in this match,
they're starting to get those players back. Like I think Sean Murphy-Bunting, for example, is back.
Let's see. No, he's still out.
Oh, is he still out? They got somebody back.
They got one other guy back because they had cluster injuries in the back in the secondary. But the Bucs, I think in this one, are going to say, "Hey, Heineke, try to pass on us." Because we're going to stop and neutralize Gibson out of the backfield. And I don't know how Washington scores in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be... It's really going to come down to can Taylor Heineke move the ball. I mean, we say you can't run on Tampa, and it's really impossible. They're allowing 55.5 yards per game to running backs. And more than 100 of that was just in one random game against the Bears, where Khalil Herbert had 100 yards. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, aside from that, they're averaging like less than 3.5 yards per carry to backs. You just cannot run on them. So the recipe for success is to pass. Taylor Heineke's not a good passer.
And both teams are coming off a bye. But Tom Brady, that's a guy who I do not want to face off a bye. I don't want to face him ever. But this seems like a spot where Bucs could easily cover. Seems a little chalky, but I like the Bucs and I like the under. I like leans for me.
Yeah, I think that I'm with you. So I think that Washington might actually have some success racking up yards in the short passing attack, especially a guy like J.D. McKissick or Gibson also receiving out of the backfield. I think that their backs receiving are in line to have potentially a pretty good day. I mean, the Bucs literally allow almost as much yardage receiving as they do rushing to running backs. So I think that both Gibson and McKissick could be in line to have pretty big days volume-wise through the air. But I don't think that that's like a touchdown threat. And they might hit Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin might also have a big game. But again, you can't rely on one guy to get you into the end zone like that.
Mm-hmm. And I would stay away from props for overs for Gibson and McKissick. I know they'll look like 42.5 I'm showing for Gibson.
You're talking rushing, right?
Rushing. It looks like, oh man, it's only 42, but you start watching this Bucs defense, 42. You might as well just look at it like an 85.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough to hit that number, and I mean even rushing attempts, 10.5, 11.5. I would be very careful playing anything over there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a giant red flag spot.
Yeah.
Quant coach, have not seen you in here in a long time.
Yeah, where you been, man?
Well.
He's a busy guy doing some lawyer judge stuff,
Yeah, I think last I heard from you, you were going on to like the the Caribbean or something, watching the stream, sipping mimosas. It was like a year ago. You get lost. I think you might have got, or just decided to stay an extra week.
Yeah, or an extra quarter. Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree. Heineke, lucky a few months ago and in the playoffs. Yeah, he's a guy who he cares. He tries really hard, willing to put his body on the line. He's a fun guy to watch. From that perspective,
get a beer with him.
I'd get a beer with him. I watched him in college. He was. I saw him play live.
Old D?
Yep, at Old Dominion, back when there was their last year in the Colonial. It was my freshman year at JMU.
God, Old Dominion's killed me a few times in college football. Nice.
But yeah, he's not a consistently good guy. Snook says Brady under 298. I think that's a pretty reasonable look.
I like that.
I mean, yeah, the Bucs are probably going to be up early. So the one thing though that happens with Tom Brady is he actually, I think a lot of times in these big blowouts, they get to be blowouts so quickly because Brady will just throw for 200 yards on you in the first half or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've seen that a few times already this year, and I know last year as well.
Yeah, and also, Nick, they will start running, obviously, with Fournette and maybe Jones, but I've also noticed in these blowouts, they do really well converting, like late in those spots, like on third downs or just continuing drives, and they'll mix in still passes. Yeah, I've noticed. So I still like the under, don't get me wrong, but it is something I've noticed over the years.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Detroit and Pittsburgh, and I feel like injuries are just, I mean, we're halfway through the NFL season. Injuries have to be a theme. But we have a pretty big injury, if you can call it an injury, in this game, and that is Ben Roethlisberger is not starting, and instead it is Mason Rudolph under center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Despite this, the Steelers are still 5.5-point favorites. I think this line dropped from -9 earlier. So we saw about a 4.5 point shift, or a 3.5 point shift in the Lions' favor with that news. Total sitting at 40.5. And I will say, I actually think that Vegas was correct with that line move. So what we saw when I reran this with Mason Rudolph in at quarterback instead of Ben Roethlisberger was about a 3.5 point shift in the favor of the Lions. Where we disagree with Vegas, or at least the model disagrees with Vegas, is where this line should have been at to begin with. So anybody who's been tuning in week and week out knows that the model, for whatever reason, likes Detroit a little bit more than they should actually be liked. Jared Goff is inconsistent, to say the least. But
yeah.
The model actually likes Detroit now to win this game with Mason Rudolph in at quarterback. So we've got a score of about 21.8 to 18.2. So about a 3.5 point win for Detroit, despite being 5.5 point underdogs. Total of like 39, so under by 1.5 or so. But Ben, I'm curious what you think about this game.
There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
I actually lean over.
Yeah, I don't
slight.
necessarily disagree. Although I don't want to pick against the model.
Yeah, and I don't want to bet that, and I'm not going to bet that.
I kind of like Detroit.
Yeah,
Mason Rudolph is bad.
Yeah, I think Detroit with the points. Because when was this announced? Roethlisberger was out.
It might have been yesterday.
Okay, so they necessarily didn't have a full week, I would say, with Mason Rudolph getting reps, which I think is very important. This is stuff that you won't hear the mainstream talking heads talk about. This is, but it's stuff that should be talked about. If Mason Rudolph has literally, first of all, 1 day to get reps with the first team, and then 2, just mentally prepare and say, hey, you're the quarterback, you're starting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus knowing that on Monday, that's a huge difference.
Yeah,
Huge difference.
Definitely. And the other thing, so Mason Rudolph has started games for the Steelers before, but they have a new offensive coordinator. And I heard an interview with Ben. He was saying that, so the Steelers are very famous for not really turning their personnel over very much. But I think this was like the first time that Ben Roethlisberger had to learn new terminologies in a long time. So, of course, then it's also the same for Mason Rudolph. So the first time in his NFL career where he's had to learn new terminology, he's got a new guy that he's never played under in an actual regular season game situation. So I think there could be some growing pains from that perspective as well for Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
So we're good with Detroit plus 5.5. We should have locked this in at 9. We were thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it was at 9 back when Ben was playing. That would feel great right now to have Detroit plus 9.
It can go both ways because 2 weeks ago I
could've been
locked in Packers plus 3.
Yeah, it could have been Goff
great.
getting hurt instead of Ben or catching COVID.
What about the Lions money line for just a value play?
Possibly. I mean, they haven't won a game yet this year. This is probably going to be the closest spread they have from here on out, unless they have another team in a similar situation. So I don't necessarily even know that it's a value spot, per se.
Unless they have a home game that they're... I'm just looking real quick through... Well, you actually might... the Bears. The Bears at home.
Okay, yeah.
Thanksgiving, I would say they're going to be like a 3.5 point underdog, I would say.
We'll see.
But other than that, you're right. I mean, they have a tough... They play the Browns on the road, Vikings at home, Broncos on the road, Cardinals at home, Falcons on the road, Seahawks on the road, and then Packers at home. Like, that's they don't win a game against either the Steelers or the Bears, 0-17, first 0-17 team ever.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
That is for sure. You ready to move on to the next game?
I am.
All right. So we've got Ben's second favorite team, the LA Chargers, hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Chargers 3-point favorites at home. Total set at 53.5. So I think Ben and I were talking earlier this week about the Chargers. Not about the Chargers, about the Vikings. And the Vikings are the most inconsistent team, at least I feel like I've seen this year. I feel like every time we've had a bet involving the Vikings, it's lost. Whether it's been an over or an under, or we think that they're going to cover, or we think that they're going to fail to cover, they just, whatever feels like the thing that the Vikings are going to do before the game, they go and do the exact opposite of it.
Mm-hmm. So we should pick the opposite of what we really think.
Yeah, but then that becomes what we think.
Yeah,
and then the opposite's going to happen. So you just have to go with the original thing.
So Chargers.
Yeah, we're just gonna flip a coin.
Yep.
And let the coin determine the outcome. So the model has the Vikings actually favored by about a point here. So about a 58, or not 58, a 25. Where the hell did I get 58 from? 25-24 win for the Vikings. So that's a cover by about 4 points, although around being so close to 0, it doesn't mean as much. And a total of 49. So it's an under by about 4.5 points. So as far as the sides are concerned, I don't really want to touch this game. I really think that this one could go either way. I think on their best days, these are two of the better teams in the league, and on their worst days are pretty bad, or can be pretty bad at least. I have a little bit more faith in the Chargers' consistency. I think that Minnesota is just always liable, though, to keep it close.
In my opinion, Nick, this is the tightest spread of the day at -3.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this, yeah, for me, the hardest one to pick a side on.
And it's one of those where if this is -3.5, I think we both would side with the Vikings, and if it was -2.5, we'd probably side with the Chargers.
Yeah, so what does that tell us? I think that tells us to stay away from the sides here.
Yeah.
As far as the total is concerned, I actually think that this under looks like a pretty good look. So, like we've talked about quite a bit, the Chargers are very good at converting on third down, and they're not a really explosive big play offense. So what that does is that makes you a very efficient team, which is very good for winning, but not necessarily a good thing if you're looking at it from the perspective of racking up 30, 35 points a week, that kind of thing.
Nick, you know what would be so funny if the Chargers offense just decided to run like a fast and see what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'd have a lot of success doing that.
Me too. I mean, Herbert's played in an offense like that in college.
Yeah, I mean, I think every player in the NFL who plays on offense has played in a system like that in college at this point.
Yeah. Austin Eckler at Western State.
Yeah. It's a very notorious up-tempo spread offense.
Fun fact about Western State, the highest altitude in the nation for a football, D1, D2, D3. It's like 8,000 feet.
That's crazy.
Yeah. These lines going crazy. What's moving?
Are they moving? Yeah. If we have any out-of-date lines up on the stream, let me know.
I think last week or the week before, we had just... It was like the first game we talked about just an hour ago. It felt like a day because of the line move.
Yeah, and
So
I mean, I throw these up before the injury news comes out for the early city games. At this point, these lines are an hour and a half to 2 hours old.
And I have Twitter up too, so I'll see stuff pop up and whatever. Herbert attempts. I'm always leaning under with him because of what Nick said and what we've talked about. That Chargers offense is just so methodical at times where even though they're converting, they drain the clock. And, the Vikings are a team with the run game. They can also do that. So they also do have the big threat capability with Justin Jefferson. But no, I would stay away from Herbert's attempts personally.
Yeah, I don't really have a good read on it at 36.5.
If you're implying that you would play the over.
Okay, so also somebody much earlier on, right at the start of the stream, had a question about this game. And that was the Dalvin Cook rushing yards over under 90.5. And they said that the over 90.5 was a good look because the Chargers give up 160 rushing yards per game. You said we'll get to that. So what are your thoughts on Dalvin Cook?
Man, I'm torn on him. I lean over, but I wouldn't personally. I'm not betting that.
So what I think is interesting is the Chargers allow so many attempts on the ground. So they actually have the most rushing attempts to running backs per game in the league. Real quick, there is the Discord link. That one I'm pretty sure works.
Oh yeah, I mean I might need to update that.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick, what you're saying is here's what I'm hearing. Vikings are going to attempt to run a lot. If Dalvin Cook can break one, that this might go over.
Very possibly. I mean, so actually, not only do they allow the most attempts, they also allow the most yards per attempt, which is a really bad combination.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a recipe for success. I just on principle feel a little uncomfortable taking a running back over 90.5 rushing yards. That's a lot of yards. But I will say it's not the worst look. So actually, the other thing is that with all these attempts, it is actually more of a committee thing. All of these yards being racked up against the Chargers. So I have game by game up here, and there's actually only been 3 backs this year that have gone over 90.5 against the Chargers, despite them allowing 130 yards per game to running backs. And that's Nick Chubb in week 5, Clyde Edwards-Helaire in week 3, and Tony Pollard in week 2. So those are the only guys who have gone over 90.5. I mean, you can't have one, you can, but you probably won't have one guy getting all of those 26.5 attempts.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, if you're interested in the backs rushing over, maybe Madison is the guy to look at.
Yeah, you're gonna get better value on a number there. And Larry, I do get what you're saying, but I also feel that this number, like I mentioned, is tight and it's a good number. And I don't see either team really blowing out the other. Like I feel pretty comfortable that this isn't gonna be anywhere more than like a 10-point differential for a win.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like during the game, you might see a team put up a garbage time touchdown to make it a 14-point game, but I think you're not going to be in blowout territory during the course of play, really.
Mm-hmm.
I feel pretty comfortable with that as well.
Even with the total of 53.5, which is a little more variance, of course, than like a 40, but the way these teams play, they're more than capable of keeping it pretty close to one another.
Yeah, I mean, and Minnesota especially really they play close games. Mm-hmm. They play up and down to the level of their competition. So as far as the lean for this is concerned, we're definitely fading the sides, as we said. Do you want to throw up an under or is this a fade?
Well, you have the controls, so
Okay, under it is.
cue the cheering noise. We have a live studio audience.
Yeah, they're literally live. They're over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, we've got Carolina and Arizona. And once again, injuries playing a big factor in this game. So we've got on Carolina's side, Sam Darnold out.
Sam, cue a sound effect for Sam Darnold this season. It's the Jets. It's Adam Gase and that. Yeah.
I mean, it can be more than one thing that was the problem. And I think when you have a team that's that bad for that long, there's more than one problem. Adam Gase was a problem, and Sam Darnold was a problem.
And Nick, I can say that because I said that many times. I said that Sam Darnold, he's going to succeed. And then after the first game, I was like, see? I told you.
He succeeded.
He succeeded, but then he did not succeeded.
Yeah, no, he seceded from succeeding.
Yeah, he did the opposite. And I've heard some takes about this, that PJ Walker is an upgrade Sam Darnold at this point, and I actually could get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to
crazy.
see. PJ Walker is not a guy that you want starting long-term for your team. Although
Absolutely.
Sam Darnold is not really a guy that you want starting long-term for your team. Honestly, maybe even just the act of making a change, having a different guy come in, is enough to spark the offense a little bit. Also, on the other side, or did you have another and about Carolina?
Well, yeah, I actually did.
Okay. Also, real quick, thank you.
BNN.
But is that supposed to be like banana or banana? Not gonna. Yeah. And also West by God. Thank both of you for the follows. Appreciate those very much. You have
Nick,
to
tell
me how to pronounce your name. Type that out in the chat. But yeah, Ben. About Carolina.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make about Carolina and PJ Walker is the head coach, Matt Rule, he's more of a new school mentality, which I can always get behind because the old school mentality, it's dying. I think if you don't get with the times, your offenses are going to die. And I think Matt Rule's a guy who can develop a game plan with PJ Walker to his capabilities, which I know his ceiling isn't high. But it kind of couples with the fact of what you said, like maybe just having that change sparks this offense because CMC, he's back. Okay, let's talk about the Cardinals now with Kyler Murray because that's obviously the big factor in this game.
Yeah, so I think that's actually not quite confirmed yet if Kyler Murray's in or out. The report that I read was that they were pessimistic about Kyler Murray and also DeAndre Hopkins playing. But I'm operating under the assumption that both of those guys are out. And the model sim that you're seeing is also operating under that assumption. So we've got PJ Walker in at quarterback again for Carolina, Colt McCoy in at quarterback for Arizona, and no DeAndre Hopkins. And even with those things, we've got Arizona winning this game by about 8.5 points. About 23.75 to 15.5. Thereabouts. That being said, we have a lean up for every game. I think this is the first one that I kind of just want to fade.
We can fade it, but I want to say one thing. Here's my hot take because I said I had a hot take, and I do. I like Carolina money line.
Well, there's your.
It's hot.
That is hot. I need a little like a sizzling noise on the type of deal on the soundboard.
And I basically made my points as to why with PJ Walker, Matt Rule, CMC. Hopkins is out. You have Chase Edmonds out, which James Conner is still. I don't think you downgrade anything there, but
Yeah.
I think from just a weapons perspective on offense, I think the Panthers can make plays on defense, and I'm assuming Kyler's out, but honestly, let me see what it's at right now. I think it's plus 350.
Yeah, I think for a 9, you'll see like 350 to 400.
Yeah, let me just confirm what it's actually at. It is at plus 312-ish.
Okay.
So, anyways, yeah, I like it. I'm going to assume that Kyler doesn't play, and I'm locking that in. I'm locking it in.
All right, you know, Ben, I'll go ahead and throw the Panthers up as our lean here. We'll have a lean for every game.
How bold should we be? Should we just put Panthers money line?
I'm going to put Carolina. I think all of the leans will go against the spread. I don't like Panthers money line.
Yeah,
I'll say that much. I'm comfortable siding with the model, taking Panthers against the spread here. If you want to do a little sprinkle.
Yeah, just a sprinkle. What model are we on? Our model or Paul's modeling company? Because he says he has Panthers money line.
Yeah, well, I mean, Paul builds houses.
Yeah.
So.
But Paul, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm cool with Panthers as a lean here.
Over under 0.5 fake punts today from Carolina. That should be a real prop bet.
It probably is. You can probably bet on that somewhere.
I would say over. Not even joking. Actually, that's
that degen shit.
Hopkins, I'm pretty sure, is out.
Yeah, I think not confirmed out, but likely to be out is where we stand. And Jet Rat, first time chat. Thank you for checking out the stream. Lock of the day. Need a win. We will do our favorite bets once we wrap up these last 3 games. Although it's important to remember that in sports betting, nothing is a lock.
Hi, I'm looking for locks.
I think that's my favorite. That's my favorite little Trent sound clip that we have.
Yeah, he was literally in a hardware store doing that, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. All right. So next up, again, quarterback injuries. But this time we have some good news from the injury perspective. We have the starting quarterbacks for both of these teams are actually playing today. How crazy is that?
Wow.
Russell Wilson is back for Seattle. Aaron Rodgers is back for Green Bay. And with these two guys healthy, we've got Green Bay favored by 3 points at home. Over under set at 49.5. And I believe that this was sitting at about -7 for Green Bay earlier in the week before we knew for sure that Russell Wilson was back. But this has moved by 4 points all the way, again, back down to Green Bay -3. Mm-hmm. So the model has Green Bay taking this one by about 5.5 points, 27 to 21.5. So that's, again, 5.5 point win for Green Bay on average from the model. Total of about 48. So I think I like Green Bay here. Can't lie.
Man, this is a tough one, Nick.
Oh, it definitely is a tough one.
You know what it feels like? It feels like week 1 all over again for the Packers.
You think they're going to have a massive, massive letdown?
Possibly. I mean, it just seems like I know it's different circumstances, but public was all about the Packers, and then I don't know. That's just the feeling I'm getting. I don't know if that's the right feeling. That's just what I feel. I'm telling you how I feel. It's just a therapy session. I'm gonna say no on that, Nick. I'm gonna go against just that being put up as a lean.
Okay, I won't argue with you there. I think with Russell Wilson coming back, there is a lot of uncertainty. Yeah. Is he going to be 100% and rearing to go, or is it going to be there's like lingering injury issues.
I mean, you could say the same thing with Rodgers. I don't want to get so deep into this conversation because people feel a certain way about it, but
Yeah, you make
never
a
know.
good point there.
You never know. I mean, we saw that with a few guys. We've literally had players come out and say that they didn't have their breath in that first game back. So, we're not speculating and saying that's going to be the case in this one, but you just never know. So for that, I think we should stay away.
All right, we'll throw up a fade there. A couple comments. West by God says, feels like snow and Lambeau, going with the under. Yeah, I mean, model likes the under a little bit. I think with the quarterback injury concerns on both sides, a little hard to pick a side. I think if this is in a better weather environment with fully healthy quarterbacks, this total is more like 53.5, 54 between these two teams. So I do think that this number has dropped a little bit already because of all that stuff.
That's kind of funny. You can't feel pain if you can't feel your body part.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point.
One time in college, someone was like, my ankle. And then the trainer's like, does it hurt? And he's like, I don't know. I can't feel it.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on, I have to screenshot something. This is hilarious. I'm going to pull this up on stream if I can. But Larry got caught by the Automod again.
That's actually hilarious, yeah.
And it was like a little meta. It was about it being blocked in the first place.
That was funny.
Uh-huh.
Nick, I wanted to make one point, though, about the total.
Yeah.
It does feel like both these teams can still have success scoring, even with weather, because the Packers, they can put Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon behind the quarterback and get them plenty of touches, and Aaron Rodgers can make good throws. And then Seattle, they've never been really like a crazy deep passing attack with Russell. They like to utilize tight ends and make smart throws. So I still lean under, but I just wanted to make that point, I guess.
Yep. All right. Mikey says, curious why the model projects the Falcons-Cowboys game so close. I mean, it just kind of is what it is. I think the Cowboys defense has been a little sus at times. I mean, it had Denver losing by less than a point to the Cowboys last week, and that was a kind of crazy looking thing, and then they came out and won by 14. Mm-hmm. So is it a guarantee that that's going to happen? Absolutely not, but I mean, that's what it likes. Jet Rat says earlier my locks are Bucks minus 9.5 and Vikings plus 3.5. I think we agree with I probably actually agree with both of them, although we didn't actually throw the Vikings up as a lean. But yeah, no such thing as a lock.
Yeah, and those aren't bad plays, actually.
No, I do like the plays
behind them.
Yeah. And then Asim said, don't usually do teasers, but love Vikings plus 10. Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah, you know what?
that actually does feel like a pretty nice.
That actually not
I
bad.
like. All right, so we got 10 minutes and 2 games left. Let's
Game
try
of the
and
day.
get through these a little fast. Philadelphia and Denver, game of the century. Said nobody. Denver at home, favored by a point. Total set at 45. Broncos coming off that big win last week against Dallas. So Ben, you're the Broncos fan here.
Hey, I've been pretty spot on with the Broncos, other than the Ravens game. That was the one that I was off on, and
Yeah.
even Nick was on the other side.
I don't listen to most people when they talk about their teams, but I do listen to you.
Yeah. So I basically made this point to Nick the other night. So the offensive coordinator, Shermer, is out because of COVID. Mike Shula is the offensive coordinator for this game. He's a guy who was offensive coordinator for the Panthers back when they had their Super Bowl run with the Panthers, with Cam Newton and all that good stuff, and then they lost to the Broncos. Anyways, I actually think this is an upgrade to the offense. I know that sounds crazy. It's a lot of speculation, but I like Denver -1. I didn't like it at -2.5, -3. Didn't like that. But I think at -1, basically saying it's a pick 'em, I'm going with Denver. If it was -3, would go with Philly as my lean. But I actually think Denver at home with some momentum, and Judy back in the lineup has been huge. It opens up the offense. It really changes the whole game plan. And Javonte Williams is a effing dog. So.
Yeah, Javonte Williams is good. He's really good. I'm totally with you here. I like the Broncos to cover this -1. I mean, you're basically just taking a money line.
Yeah.
And I think they're at home, and I think that they're probably a better team than the Eagles. Just full stop. All right.
like it.
Last but not least, we have what is sure to be the most controversial model score of the day. The model hates Kansas City, but this was shocking to me. So, Kansas City on the road in Las Vegas. Vegas, 2.5-point dogs. Over-under set at 52.5. The model, which again, does not like Kansas City at all, especially their defense, has Vegas winning this game by 8 points. I don't know.
I know.
So I think the Raiders have been a good team these last couple of weeks. I think that they're actually better off for John Gruden being gone, just from a purely football perspective. I think Gruden was really holding back the offense. I think that Bisaccia is doing a better job than Gruden was. And Kansas City's defense is leaky. They have a real big problem stopping teams. And I think even without Henry Ruggs, this Raiders offense is still got a lot of weapons. I think Derek Carr is a really underrated quarterback. So, do I think it's going to happen by 8 points? No. But I do like the Raiders to cover here.
I'm not overthinking this one. The Raiders.
All right.
And,
There you have
Nick, here's why. Look, every week people are saying the same thing. The Chiefs are going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out. And they're not figuring it out.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you can't just hope for something like that because, and hey, it could happen. It could happen tonight. But I am confident in what I've seen the last few weeks that the Raiders at home, they're going to win this.
Yeah, I like the Raiders to take this game as well. All right, so that wraps up the full slate of games.
Patrick's
very happy. Also, are you actually PJ Walker's cousin? Because you said earlier, like, don't disrespect my cousin or something like that. I know you're both P. Walkers, so you could be cousins.
I don't believe them.
There's a lot of people named Walker out there, but you are both. Yeah, that's your NFL P. Walk, right there. That's who that is.
I'm already telling everyone that.
They're brothers. They're twins. All right. Also, thank you, Paul, for the 200 bits. Let's fucking go.
Nice.
I'm excited for today's games. We got 5 minutes until kickoff. Let's get into our favorite picks. So, Ben, what is your favorite bet today?
Oh man, my favorite bet. I think I'm going to go with. Oh man, I have two that I'm contemplating.
Okay, well, I can go first.
You start.
Okay, so my favorite bet today, I think this is the same exact thing that I had last week as well. I'm going to go Cleveland plus 2.5 against New England. I think that Cleveland should be favored in this game, and I think that Cleveland's going to take the game outright.
That was one of mine that I was.
I figured that's why I wanted to hop in.
That's fine
So
because the other one, and I think was my favorite. Titans Saints under 43.5.
I really like that as well. I think that was my number 2.
I'm not going to overthink it. Both these defenses playing very, very good defense, and Taysom Hill, he can come in and do his thing, but I'm not with Kamara out. I think that's huge, and Henry's out. Julio Jones is out. I'm not overthinking this one. Go under there.
Yeah, absolute lack of playmaking options offensively relative to the defensive talent on the teams. I like the end of that quite a bit as well. So, there it is. There you have it. That is the stream for today. Let's go watch some football. But first, a big thank you to everyone for showing up. We crushed our viewer record today. That was pretty cool. Appreciate all y'all turning out. I think we hit like 55 or something. So that was pretty cool.
Good turnout. Maybe a lot of people had some bad bets last week because the public got killed and looking for some help. But hey, we're always here. Regardless of what happens with the prior weeks, our leans have been really good. We had someone track.
Yeah, I know if Walter's here.
Yeah, I know they're leans, but it gives you an idea of what we're expecting to happen in these games.
Yeah. All right. Let's go watch some football.
Let's go Broncos.
Yep.
The later game, but
let's go all the leans. And we'll be back tomorrow for Monday Night Football picks and props, either 6:30 Eastern or 7 Eastern. Depending on whether or not we have some other segments in there. But be sure to tune in for that. That'll be for anybody who's new, the primetime games, Thursday night, Monday night, full run-throughs of the prop market for each game. And those have been good. Top bets, which have all been props in those 4-0, the last 2 primetime games. Model's been on the correct side of the total and the spread last 2 games as well. We're on a little bit of a primetime heater.
Yep.
So be sure to tune in for that.
Now we enter into the AMSR portion of the show.
It's ASMR, not AMSR.
No, it's
ASMR. Trust me, I'm a professional. After we turn off this stream, I'm gonna go turn on my other stream and just sit here and talk like this. I'm gonna do NFL play-by-play.
If people don't know what we're talking about, they're probably like, "What the hell is going on right now? What is this show?"
Yep. Welcome to
anyways
Week 10 NFL ASMR. Oh,
okay.
Perfect. Amaranth just went live. All right.
Oh, perfect. We'll do one of the.
I'm gonna go watch football.
What's it called when you take the audience to another live stream?
Oh, you like a raid or a host?
Yeah, we'll go raid Amaranth's show.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, guys. Let's have a good day. We'll be in the Discord, and good luck with all the bets, guys.
Yep. Good luck. See you next time.
See you.